Ladies and gentlemen, guests of POHAN, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Victoria Michaels.
Thank you so much, Ms. Samantha Salesman. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, our host, Chief Dr. MD is saying all protocols fully observed. It is my pleasure to speak on this commemoration of the United Nations Public Service Day hosted by POHAN. And today I will be speaking on human capital development, a panacea to effective governance, a much needed endeavor in bringing about productivity to the economy. I say good afternoon to everyone. Human capital development can be said to be the deliberate efforts by government and the people to provide the right number of workers at the right areas of need and at the right time in an economy. Human capital in general, according to Anyanwu, refers to the productive capital of the people in an enterprise or a nation as economic agent. In the words of Ariel, human acquisition of knowledge, skills, and ability through education and training for productive purpose also constitute human capital. Based on this background, human capacity building could therefore be viewed as a series of activities which an organization or even a nation needs to undertake to provide for itself on a continuous basis a regular supply of skilled manpower to meet its present and future needs. The prosperity of any nation, according to Mankiw and Well, depends to a large extent on the competence of its workforce. In modern economics, the major source of competitive advantage of its workforce, competitive advantage, had not lied on technology, on the dedication, the quality, and the commitment, but above all, it lies on the collective competence of the workforce. As a resource, and like some other factors of production, human capital has a lifespan, not in terms of life expectancy at birth, but lifespan measured by economically active period. In Nigeria context, economically active period is usually between the ages of 15 and 65 years, or at most 70 years. Commenting on the scope of this subject, Fee and Uranus had this to say: the current concern for human capital development goes beyond national boundaries. In response to global challenges, human capital formation has taken on international character, primarily to enhance the migration of personnel and to move with the global operations of enterprises. From the above opinions, it is therefore not surprising that higher productivity growth is associated with developed societies. This is another focus on the argument that the higher the educational attainment of the labor force, the higher the concomitant productivity. This realization has led many countries of the world, including Nigeria, both developed and developing, to embark on capital development. In Nigeria, there has been a series of national and international workshops and seminars on capacity building since the mid-1990s, which gives the impression of Nigeria's deliberate policy and preparedness to build up its own indigenous capacity. My presentation here today is therefore an attempt to assess the present state of problems and prospects of human capital development in Nigeria, and to establish whether or not there exists a relationship between it and the growth and development of this great nation. Human capital development ensures that the benefit of growth places human beings at the center of development and at the center of all social and economic policies. The maiden edition of UNDP Human Development Report in 1990 stated that human capital development is a process of enlarging people's choices. The key element of the Human Development Index, HDI, includes life expectancy, education, and basic purchasing power. These elements are used as proxies in measuring the extent to which people benefit from the development process. Within this perspective, no growth is considered worth its purpose if it is not translated in human development terms. In other words, development must be seen as improvements in people's standard of living. The World's Employment Report of 1998 and 1999, according to Dr. I.A. Ayodele, stated that in spite of some noticeable economic growth, the social condition of African people has continued to deteriorate, with about 2/3 living in absolute poverty, measured as living below income of $1 per day. Employment growth has been lower than that of expansion in labor force. Only about 10% of Africans' labor force work in the formal sector, while the remaining 90% engage themselves in different informal activities. About 9.29% growth per year of the economically active population was predicted between 1999 and 2010, implying that 8.7 million new job seekers will be entering the labor market each year. Growth, poverty, and unemployment have been associated with negative indices of development in the entire continent. These include high level of adult illiteracy, ranging from 16% in South Africa to as high as 79.3% in Burkina Faso, with Nigeria at 40.5%. By virtue of its size, natural resources, and economic importance as a major exporter of crude oil, Nigeria should be a major factor in sub-Saharan Africa. The country should also boast of a higher number of tertiary institutions than the rest of the sub-Saharan Africa put together. However, the situation on ground does not present any better picture. It is disheartening that life expectancy in Nigeria is as low as 49, according to UNDP 2016, and about 2/3 of citizens are poor, living on under $1 per day. That is one of the costliest countries to operate industries, mainly because of poor infrastructure, that the economy is still largely import dependent and unemployment soars at 2-digit level, that medical care is at infancy, whereas a larger number of its citizens are key practitioners in the best health systems abroad. UNDP Human Development Report estimated that more than 21,000 Nigerian doctors are practicing in the United States of America. This scenario similarly repeats itself in many other disciplines and professions. The gap in the number of professionals trained and produced and the number engaged can be accounted for by brain drain, low capacity utilization, and unfavorable working environment. The issue of utilization of available human resources is equally important if the whole object of capacity building is to be achieved. There is the need for optimum utilization of human capacity in both the public and private sectors of Nigerian economy. According to ONI, the initial attempt to build human capacity in Nigeria faced the challenge of inappropriate utilization and, in many cases, underutilization of many categories of the nation's manpower as a result of reckless disregard for consideration of the appropriate work-skill mix. In effect, every effort should be made to ensure that the square peg is put in a square hole for the benefit of stakeholders, the organization, the staff, and the economy as a whole. To achieve this, there is a need to improve the economy base to accommodate more human resources currently in the labor market. The government should ensure that in spite of the policy on quota system, only qualified persons are given political appointments. In conclusion, since it's been shown that human capacity development efforts are still open to a lot of initiatives, there is therefore the need for synergy by both the public and private sectors for optimal result. There's also the need for the pursuit of sustainable capital development that can equip people with the skills and competencies that are required both for employability and job creation, as well as government and as well as entrepreneur development. It is therefore follows that individuals, enterprises, government, and the society will have to invest in human capital development and utilization. Government must, as the major stakeholder in the economy, create a conducive environment for business to thrive and for individuals to play the expected drivers in the emerging economic scenario. So let me quickly give you my recommendation. Here are my recommendations. With a basic understanding that the whole essence of human capital development is to improve the standard of living of the population, there is still a long way to go for Nigeria as a nation. If the stated objective of capacity building must be achieved, however, bearing in mind the efforts of the past and present democratic governments, which include anti-corruption war and increased funding for education, etc., further actions are suggested along the following lines. 1, there should be increased collaboration and cooperation between public and private sectors. By doing so, both sectors can review the capacity gaps with a view to ensuring that what the educational institutions are producing is what industries require. 2, exchange programs between the academic and industries will assist in fostering the spirit of togetherness among the planners, producers, and the employers of labor. 3, this is my third recommendation, that there is the need to ensure the judicious use of education tax and other similar funds, recalling that the purpose for which the education tax was set up seems to have been neglected in the recent past, in spite of the billions of naira realized annually. Fourth, vocational training should be adequately catered for, since it is obvious that not every person will have access to or afford formal education. There is the need for people to be trained in vocational skills. The Industrial Training Fund, ITF, has a responsibility to perform in this regard. In setting up the vocational institutions, copious notes should be taken of comparative education area of the country. My fifth recommendation, provision of an enabling environment for business to thrive in another major recommendation. This will go a long way to increase private sector funding and participation in the running of the educational system, power supply and distribution, petroleum, telecommunication, and building of roads. The sixth one is the Nigerian educational system is in dire need of substantial additional resources. So much is required to renovate dilapidated structures, expand and upgrade facilities and equipment, and enhance capacity for the utilization of information and communication technologies. The seventh one is performance and moral need to be boosted in the system through adequate remunerations and incentives for education professionals and practitioners. Our traditional methods of sourcing funds through mainly government budgetary provisions and external credit cannot suffice. The eighth one is university authorities, officials, and professionals require added creativeness. To achieve this, our universities and other tertiary education institutions must be given autonomy in every sense of the concept. Usual government restrictions and regulations that hamper resourcefulness and creativity must be out of the way. Nigeria's education reform agenda must be of a necessity to target this. Finally, much more effort should be tailored towards the monitoring of educational institutions. One is happy to note that autonomy is gradually being granted at tertiary institutions. However, this autonomy should not be at the expense of any quality. The appropriate government agencies must see to it that funds are judiciously spent and academic quality is not compromised. So with this modest presentation of mine, I therefore submit that human capital is the major panacea to effective and good governance. Thank you all so much for listening. God bless Nigeria, God bless POHAN, and God bless you all.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mrs. Victoria Michaels. That was a wonderful presentation.